it's Reagan, and today I'm here with my December TBR. Whew, not gonna lie, I am probably being a little overambitious with this TBR, but it is the last month of the year, so I'm just like trying to end on a strong note. Read all the books I want to read before I run out of time and 2019 starts and it's like a whole new fresh set of goals and everything like that. But anyway, without further ado, let's just go ahead and dive right into the TBR. The first book on my list is the book I am currently reading, and that is Bands of Mourning by Brandon Sanderson. This is the third book to the Wax and Wayne Mistborn trilogy that I am just loving so much. This third one has been lauded by many of the Brandon Sanderson book forums that I often read on the internet as the best one by far and away in the series, and really sets up this world to be like incredibly explosive and bigger than anyone ever anticipated. I'm halfway through and I can definitely say the pace at which I'm reading this book is definitely accelerated compared to the last two. Not to say I didn't read those books quickly, but I just cannot put this book down. The world has expanded beyond this like major city that the first two books are centered in, and we kind of get to see some of the outskirts of the town. We also get to see some larger political maneuvering that impact the entire like living world that these characters interact in, which weren't really present in the first two books. Also, my love for these characters continue to grow and grow. Steris and Wayne are my baes. I love them so much. So anyway, this is the first book I want to read this month, as I'm just so excited to catch up on this series, and then I'll basically have read almost every Brandon Sanderson book out there. I only have like a few left, so that makes me a little sad, but I'm also really proud of myself because I've really flown through these this year with good reason. They're incredible. Next up on my list is A Winter's Promise by Christelle Dabos. This is a French translation of a fantasy novel that honestly seems very peculiar in all of my favorite ways. This follows our main character Ophelia, who's always viewed herself as a bit of like a weird outcast in her world. She's always known two things to be true. She can touch objects and basically see their entire like past and history, and she can also walk through mirrors. She's always had these unusual abilities. People have always kind of left her alone, but then at the beginning of this novel, she kind of gets tangled into a lot of politics of her world, especially because I think she's arranged to a powerful like political figure to be married. I don't know. I'm very intrigued by this story. Also, like the chapter titles all have like the same style, which I feel like I've mentioned a lot, which I know is like a weird thing to be really intrigued by, but like I want to know why everything starts with the blank for every chapter. I just need to know. I'm very intrigued by this book. Next up is a book I just really want to read before the end of the year because I want to catch up on this series. I don't want this book to go into 2019. And that is Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. This is the sequel to Strange the Dreamer, which was one of my favorite books last year, so I don't know why I am being so terrible and haven't read this yet. But Strange the Dreamer is a really beautiful fantasy dual perspective novel. Laini Taylor does a wonderful and has just the innate ability to describe like very intense strife and like conflict and the inevitable hatred between two different groups of people through multiple generations. And I feel like she illustrates that very well in this series, and also just writes it the most beautifully and lyrical kind of way. But this is a book that follows one of our main characters, Laszlo Strange, who is obsessed with this city called Weep. Weep, after a very horrific happening, has basically like been erased. The name has been lost. No one has found it. No one has left or gone to this city. But Laszlo views himself as kind of a scholar of its history. And one day an envoy arrives from the city of Weep and begins to gather individuals to take back, individuals who are like the best of their trade, and they bring Laszlo. And he, from there, gets involved with a lot of different things that I won't spoil, but it's just such a beautiful novel that I love, and I just need to read the sequel. The next book on my list is another Brandon Sanderson novel, and that is Skyward. This is his new YA release that's actually science fiction that I picked up last month and didn't get to because I wanted to catch up on the Alloy of Law series, but now that I'm almost done with that, I can pick this novel up. I've heard great things about this. Obviously, I'm expecting it to be wonderful as I love Brandon Sanderson so much. This follows our main character, Spencer, who dreams of being a pilot. And her whole life, her planet where she's grown up has been under attack. However, as much as she wants to be a pilot, she is not accepted to be one because her father, who is also in this program, deserted his team, and now because of that, people don't want Spencer to join herself. However, she discovers a mysterious kind of like artifact, which kind of like changes her fate forever. Again, Brandon Sanderson, sci-fi, space pilots. I'm very interested to see how this book unfurls. Next on my list is not this book, but instead the next book to the Dark Artificer series by Cassandra Clare. I honestly don't actually know what it's called, but I do have it pre-ordered and it's coming to my house. This is a series that has really surprised me in that I have loved every single installment in this book series. I honestly wasn't expecting to. I wasn't even going to read it initially, but I ended up picking it up and boy, am I so glad I did. These books are so entertaining and Cassandra Clare still has it. She'll keep you on the edge of your seat. She'll make you feel all sorts of things. And she definitely did that with the first two books in this installment. So definitely excited to pick up the third and final one when it comes out like in a few days. It might actually be out by the time this video goes up. So I might be reading it right now as we speak. All right, now moving on to the part of my TBR that is bordering on the impossible, but we're gonna talk about the books anyway, okay? First, I have Foundry Side by Robert Jackson Bennett. This is a newly released and like very buzzy new first novel in an epic fantasy story. Brandon Sanderson blurbed it. Honestly, that's all I really needed to see to buy it, but I believe it follows a thief who's like the best thief. However, she's hired to steal something, and then after she steals it, people are trying to kill her. It's kind of a classic setup, if you will. I love a good thief starting story. Always a big fan of a female thief who has to, you know, basically save the world in some capacity. Great morality is where it's at. So I am pumped to pick this up and see how it is. I'm really hoping for a new fantasy series that can capture my attention as I'm running out of ones on my bookshelf. So always looking for new and fresh series to check out. Then I have Salta Deceive by Rita Sepetys. This is a book I have been putting on many TBRs and lists to read in this year and to finish. I've not picked it up yet. But hey, it's still December. It's not quite the end of the year yet, so I have my chance to pick this up. This is a very popular and lauded historical fiction story following a tragedy that was worse than the Titanic. I think we follow 4 refugees that have boarded a ship for leaving Europe for a variety of different reasons, and we read all of their perspectives. And then we also read the terrible thing that befalls all of them. Apparently this is beautifully written, like masterful book. Everyone has been trying to get me to read this for such a long time. It's super popular. It's on the list to read. You know, I've got a box of tissues prepared. It's happening. And the very last book on my TBR is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. I read like 100 pages of this in November and it was a wonderful, joyful time. I've also recently watched a few Harry Potter movies as I bought the box set. So I honestly I just feel like reading more of this illustrated edition throughout December. I'm not quite sure if I'll finish it, but even if I read like 50 to 60 more pages of this month, I will be happy and it will make me happy. I just love Harry Potter books. Like, what more is there to say? Especially during the holidays, it makes me feel really warm inside and happy. So I'm just gonna try to read some more of this. Hey guys, those are all of the books I plan to read in December. Let me know down below some books you really hope to get to this month, as I would love to know. And I'll see you guys soon with another video soon. Goodbye.